I once heard this great story by Henry Rollins about David Lee Roth, the lead singer of Van Halen. When Van Halen was at the height of their popularity, David Lee Roth had gone back to Pasadena, California, where he had grown up, and he ran into some old schoolmates in the streets one day, and the one guy sarcastically said, "Oh, it must be nice being David Lee Roth, the lead singer of Van Halen." And Roth quickly retorted, "You know, on graduation day in high school, we were all in the same starting blocks. You chose that bank job. That's a sure thing. You're going to die in that cubicle. I chose to sail the seas of consequence." When I heard that story, I thought it was, so profound. He had such a nomadic personality. He wanted to go out and see the world and do things, and he wasn't afraid to fail. He wasn't paralyzed by fear or anything. And I'd like to think that, I live my life that way as well. I'll take the time on the side, don't wanna regret this. Yeah, music's always been a huge part of my life. As far back as I could remember, anytime I get money in my pockets, I was always going to the record store, getting the latest cassette, single, 45, or full-length album, and I'd play it until it was worn out. I remember in high school, I went to a party with some of my friends, and there was a heavy metal band playing in the driveway. This was back in 84. Yeah, it's 1984, and there was a band playing, and the guitarist goes up on the microphone. He said, "Hey, our singer didn't make it out tonight, and we're just playing instrumentally because we didn't want to cancel. So if anybody knows the words, come on, jump up and help us out." And he said, "This is a Metallica song," and I was a huge Metallica fan when I was a kid. So I jumped up there, grabbed the mic, and I started jumping around, just going crazy, having the time of my life. I look out, and the people at the party are all coming near the stage. They start dancing and singing the words with me, and I just kind of felt like I was in my element. I felt like I was finally home, and it was just a great experience. I finished the song, people were clapping. It made me feel really good. And as I walked away, this dude, he had tight jean shorts on, and he had a wooden leg. And he came limping up to me, and he's like, "Yo, bro, what band you in?" And I was like, "Not in a band," but I said, "That's actually the first time I've ever sang in a microphone in front of people." He said, "You really need to be in a band." So I was inspired by that. I one day saw an ad in the paper, "The Spud Monsters seek aggressive vocalist." So I answered the ad, and after auditioning, I got the gig. So we started touring around, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, and we started really creating a good buzz. People started coming out. More and more people would be at the shows as we would gain popularity. And we started touring quite a bit, but we weren't making any money. We were in a cheap van that had exhaust issues that we would choke on the fumes, and we would struggle to eat, and we wouldn't have anywhere to stay. Many times we would sleep in the van or on somebody's floor, but we loved what we were doing. And we were on stage. That's what it was all about. For that half hour, 40 minutes of being on stage, it was so worth it. So we continued. We'd tour for longer periods of time and get out there, and eventually we were drawing about 1,000 people every time we would play in Cleveland, and we finally got a record deal. There was a buzz on us, and a German record label, Massacre Records, signed us to a 3-album deal. And they said, "Let's record an album, you come over to Europe and tour." So we had our very first tour over in Europe with Biohazard when they were blowing up on the Urban Discipline tour. We played in front of a couple thousand people every night, and it was just incredible. And I was realizing, I had that realization that just like in life, how we struggle so hard, but if we're very persistent in what we do, great things can happen if we just stick to it. We were actually seeing the fruits of our labor, and it was great. Instead of struggling to, sleeping on people's floors, we were actually staying in hotel rooms, or, we had a tour bus, and we're playing in front of big, huge crowds, playing festivals with Ozzy Osbourne and Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and people are coming up and asking us, for our autographs. We go backstage and there's a big spread of food for us. So, and then I'll never forget the day MTV played our video, and seeing it on MTV and hearing how we're on tour currently and showing our tour dates on there. We're like, wow, this is incredible. We just stuck it out. We were very persistent in what we did, and it paid off. So I try to look at my life like that, because I have that great experience, pushing hard through a struggling situation because I really loved and believed in something that ultimately it would pay off in the end. So now I have that confidence that if I want to do something in my life, I just need to stick it out, and then everything will work out for itself. I had so many questions about life. I wanted to know what the purpose of life was, why bad things happen to good people. And I met John Joseph, the lead singer of the Cro-Mags. We went on tour with them in '95. John really turned me on to yoga, meditation. I got into raw vegan foods, juicing, juice fasting, and it really changed my life. But I knew I wanted to know what life was really all about. So he gave me a book called The Science of Self-Realization by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And that book really opened my eyes. I became a vegetarian. I stopped taking intoxication. I started living for a higher purpose. I wanted to know who God was. So yoga and meditation, all that, eating right, eating healthy, eating clean, and living with purpose, that was kind of the new direction my life took. I'd have to say the major prerequisite in my life is connecting with God through prayer, meditation, yoga, and doing a devotional service. I always feel like I could be doing better, but I try my best not to beat myself up. Yet at the same time, I try to see where I can make improvements and adjust accordingly. I used to be the all or nothing type of person. If I didn't think I could do something perfectly all at once, I wouldn't even attempt it. But I learned in time that if you stay determined and chip away at your goals, you can achieve so much. So as they say, slow but steady wins the race. In 1998, I became a certified personal trainer. I would train people mostly on how to box because I was a boxer, and that's what I really enjoyed doing. But I also, after being inspired by John Joseph, really got into juicing and juice fasting and teaching people about raw vegan foods and vegetarian cooking classes. I was doing so many things. So I started steadily coaching people on juice fasting, and whenever I would get together with them, coach them for like a whole month of a juice fast, when they came off the fast, they would often say, well, hey, what do I do now? What do I do after the juice fast? How should I eat? So I'd write down, a diet for them and just kind of coach them through all that. When one of my friends said, hey, listen, man, you got all this knowledge of juice fasting and raw foods and all this stuff. He said, why don't you just put it into a book? Compile all your knowledge and put it in a book. So I was inspired by that. So in 2014, I wrote my first book, Raw Life. And it's on juicing, juice fasting, raw vegan foods, superfoods, elixirs, and it's still steadily selling to this day, and it's kind of a staple in my life that it's my go-to book. So I know that so many people have health issues, spiritual issues, just life issues in general, and what I want to do is I want to give back to people. I want to show them that there's hope out there. So one of my services that I do in life is to try to help others and not judge them, but help them in a compassionate, loving way. I want to let people know that you can do whatever you want to do if you really, really put your heart to it, and be the best you can be. Because I think there's greatness just lying dormant in everybody, and they just need to go in and grab it and bring it out. So that's my mission in life.